Good afternoon, everyone. I realize we are coming on the fag end of the program, so it's difficult to keep everyone interested, but hopefully we'll be able to do a good job. It's a short and crisp session of 25 minutes. Uh, I'm not going to go too deep into what I do and all those things, but focusing on the current session, there is a whole lot of talk about AI hype cycle, elections, globalization, deglobalization. You hear all sort of words across the world, but one thing which is how do we work together, right? I think in last few years what we witnessed is the Indian tech industry coming into its true colors. I mean, we've been through COVID, we've been through various other things, and I think the industry has come out really well. We managed to work all across the board, work with various stakeholders, and deliver value to everyone. One thing which we need to keep in mind, this is the industry which is export-driven industry. Largely, I mean, we talk about 283 billion, 80% of which is the export. Now, what is interesting in all this is our dependence on some critical markets like US and all are phenomenal. Uh, and as I said, 80% is export. So how do you enhance your presence globally? Which are the markets, which are the key trends that we need to catch on? Are some of the things that every company, irrespective of the scale, size, and operations, you need to be very careful about. So through this session, what we are going to try and do is, with all these emerging trends, right? You turn on the news, you turn on the social media, the only thing you'll hear about is some changes in immigration, some changes in policy with regards to exports and all, especially coming in from the US, some of the other markets. How do we plan our growth? What are things that we need to do? So we're going to start on that. So I'm going to have a common question to Ramesh and Gautam both. In these evolving market, what are those key points that companies need to keep in mind when they're looking to grow? How do you sort of decipher which are the right markets? What is the right way of entering these markets? And what should they keep in mind? Over to you, Ramesh.
Okay, thank you, Mayank, and happy to be here to share ideas and experiences I've been through myself as a 10 years as an entrepreneur, and the company where I'm associated with, Indium Software. When I started, we were about 85 people. Today, about 5,500. So happy to answer any question with respect to how did we grow. We are not a big brand like, a tier 1, tier 2 company. So a lot of experience how we have scaled the company. So Mayank, coming to your question, right, when is the time to look at expanding to the market, and probably what are the key parameters probably we need to look at when we have to look for expanding. So I think the basic thing would be that whatever current market, before we start looking at expanding the market, I think the first thing is that looking at your existing market to see, hey, have you done enough to the existing market? Is there a saturation competition-wise, and what is the potential of growing your services within the existing market? Okay. As again, Mayank, you said it's predominantly India IT is export oriented and majorly leans towards the US geography. And today now, with whatever is happening, I think that is again looking at various other geographies of expansion and things like that. But primarily, I think the one thing that has helped us primarily is looking at what is the scope of the market that we are currently servicing, and what is the scope of expanding in the current market. Looking at a additional market is always very lucrative. And the thing what happens is that when you get into the new market, there are, while there may be lot of growth and things like that that might be coming from the data points and things like that, but also comes from the point of view of when you start the way you may want to start. You want to start your own company, then what are the things that you need to go after, how you need to go into the partnership or alliance and things like that. There are various factors that you need to consider. But to quickly answer your question, I feel primarily that look at your current market, if it is US or if it is UK or if it is in India. India is growing phenomenally last 3-4 years. I think we'll touch upon that a little later. How do we go into that? So in each one of these markets, I'm sure that each one of you have a clear market geo which is very clearly identified. So my suggestion is to look at if that is something which you have done sufficient and then look for additional market.
Thanks. Gautam, you want to take a stab?
So I'll take, I think my views are somewhat similar, but I'll put it in a slightly different way. To succeed, we need to know our strengths. So we need to know what we are strong in as a company. And that really decides where you want to go. So that's a core thing that we need to keep in mind. There are lots of statistics and various other things that might be available, but if you're not playing to your strengths, then you're unlikely to succeed. So having said that, so what, then let me give you an example. So my experience largely is in technology and innovative products and solutions, technology and innovation and products and solutions. All my career I've been doing that. Right now, I have a new venture which I've started just a few months back, and that is primarily Japan-based. So as a market, my major market focus today is Japan. And one of the reasons for me to play in that market is I have 20-25 years of experience in that market. I know that market really well. I know the customer behavior really well. I know, what works and what doesn't work. And that really is my reason for going there. I will also go into, I have experience working in the US market and in the EU market. I've also worked in the Southeast Asian markets, because one of the areas which I used to work was in industrial automation. And industrial automation, a lot of work is happening in the Southeast Asian region, China and Philippines, Vietnam, many of those countries where the actual factories are growing, and therefore those also have been target markets for me in the past. So playing to strengths and being really cognizant of what your strengths are and what the market can offer is where you should go, is my
Thanks. So Gautam, just keep the mic handy, because you've touched upon an interesting topic, an interesting geo called Japan, right? Every time we get into a government meeting, our dependency in terms of US is phenomenally high, right? And the industry is extremely, extremely important for the government because we are one of the biggest forex earner for the government. There's always that pressure that why do you want to be so dependent on the US market? Can we hedge our bets, look into some of the other markets? And interestingly, Japan is one market that's been a bit of enigma for the industry for a longest time, because it's like the third or fourth largest economy in the world. But if you look into the revenues that our industry generates, is negligible. And it's heartening to see that a smaller company says that we've got a predominant customer base from Japan, because some of our largest member companies also don't really have that much of customer base. Now, how do you deal with a market like Japan is very different, because US is like you meet customer twice or thrice and you're able to close the deal. Japan, you need a long-term vision. There is a bit of cultural differences, but it's a market that is important. Would you have any suggestions for SMEs who are looking for the offbeat markets like Japan? What should be the the core idea that they need to focus? Please go.
On the lighter side, you need to handle a lot of sake.
I won't mind.
So on the lighter side, but the whole thing is Japan is not a quick turnaround market. It is about building relationships, and those relationships take time to build and a lot of sake. But once you build the relationships, once you're into those relationships, you do well. There's a cycle of building trust, So you need to be careful about what you say, how you say it, and so on. But once that trust is built, it typically stays for a very long time. So it is unlike, I mean, while the US market decisions get made really quickly, but those decisions could be to make or to break. Both decisions get made really quickly, right? But in Japan, the decision to make takes a really long time, and the decision to break takes even longer time. They would typically not break off once they have started. So the market is different. If anybody is interested in Japan, I always tell people that you have to think about it. You have to be in it for the longer run. It cannot be you cannot expect that I'm going to go in and I'm going to win something in the next few months and come back. That's not going to happen, typically. You could be lucky, but even if you're lucky, I'd say be careful because the next one might not happen that fast. So you have to be in it for the long run, and you have to build trust. So your first 2-3 meetings may be nothing but, just getting to know each other. Just go say hello, get to know each other, and come back without asking for anything. It's tough, right? You've taken a long flight and spent a lot of money, and you just say hello and then come back, right? But over time, you build the trust, and then things take off from there. So that's very different from other markets that we have played in.
Yeah. Patience is the virtue, and I think also which we see in a lot of cases, most of our companies, irrespective of the size, we can promise, we have the habit of promise and saying that we do everything under the sun, right? So 2 markets where you need to be very precise is Japan and Germany. And we've seen of late the trend, the other side of the story is also the GCC story, which is unfolding in India. And again, that US has been the torchbearer from that side as well. But in last few years, what we've seen, companies from Japan, Korea, Germany, they are setting up the GCC in emerging hubs like Kochi, Coimbatore. I'm saying these 2 names because these are the 2 cities I've been in last 3-4 days, but there are many other, Jaipur, Chandigarh and all. Now what it has done, it has opened up market for SMEs and some of the other mid-tier companies within India where you don't have to look for customers outside, right? You've got Tesco's, Walmarts of the world in India, in Bangalore, in Chennai. Now that's opened up a new customer base. So Ramesh, what is your take on that? Because that's an interesting market for companies. How do you see that helping growth in the emerging hubs like Kochi?
Yeah, I mean, I think GCC has been, as a market, has been there for ages in India. But I think very interesting things are happening in especially last 3-4 years. Very interesting. As all the services company in India, we used to see the GCC as competitors, right? We used to work with the principals elsewhere in the world, and the jobs will come either to us or to the GCC. So there was always a competition, right? So that shift has happened now, in the sense that now from a competition to a collaboration is what is happening last 2-3 years. And few things that I have been seeing running this business, meeting several GCCs, is that most of the GCCs, how they had set up in the past has been changing. Like the principals are looking at, can the GCCs deliver value? Can it become an innovation hubs? Okay. And they're looking at faster time to market. Can you use these India hubs to accelerate their market? So when that particular thing happens, right, that is a great opportunity for the SMEs especially. And I will tell you the reason why. Okay. As most of us know, the GCCs primarily work with tier 1, tier 2 companies. I'm telling you that one more shift that is happening last couple of years is GCCs are more open now to work with SMEs, smaller companies. And the reason is this. The reason is that smaller companies are niche, like what Gaurav mentioned, right? You are smaller company. When you expand, you expand, one, looking at what opportunity exists in that market outside, but also look at what capability you bring in. So each one of the companies in India, okay, we bring in unique capabilities. And these unique capabilities and turnaround is what the GCCs are looking for. And for that, if you go for a tier 1, tier 2 company, it takes longer time. I was having a conversation sometime back, very, very recent, maybe a couple of hours back, saying that something, I was telling that gentleman that this is what we do at Indium, and they said that person said we looked at the similar services about 3 years back, okay, and they quoted about tier 1 companies quoted $50,000 for that and a year to turn around. Smaller companies, the agility to react for a requirement, you all agree, right? The agility, the quick, faster turnaround time. Hey, my CEO can be on the table or can be on the call. Okay, I think Tom, mentioned, right? So when what happens is that when you are working, I say SME company, you have a mindset of startup for every company. For every company, because that is a company which gives you the revenue. Okay, it makes a lot of sense because even if you lose one customer, it has a lot of impact on your books of account, right? So from that standpoint of view, there is a shift that is happening in the GCC. Coming back to your point, Mark, I think the great opportunity, and I feel that all the SMEs don't feel that these GCCs they go to only tier 1, tier 2 companies. No, they are looking at smaller companies, looking for very niche products, niche solutions, and quicker turnaround time. When I'm talking about quicker turnaround time, I'm talking about, hey, can you help me with a solution in 2 to 6 weeks time? Gone are the days where we say, hey, I will build a solution in say 3 months, 6 months. We all remember, I don't know how many all were with more than 15, 20 years experience, right? When that release cycles come, right? We used to say that the release will happen 1 release, 2 release in a year. That rapid release is happening. Similarly, now the products are also, solutions are developed in, not in months, it is in weeks. And which SMEs can do that. And that is what the GCs are looking at, especially when they've been looked at as a innovation hub for their principles.
Thanks, Ramesh. The other challenge, since large part of the audience, I assume, is the SME segment and some startups. The segments are, they have a handicap in terms of the bandwidth. How do you sort of decide which are the key markets we need to focus on, and at what time? Because the challenge that I see with so many SMEs, they would want to be in a rush to expand, be in all the markets all the time, which is not a problem, but at times you can spread yourself too thin, right? So it becomes imperative on you that you pick and choose where to fight your battles and where do you grow. How do you decide that? At what time do you decide what's the right strategy to get into those markets? Gautam, why don't you take the first stab and then we'll have Ramesh answer that.
Sure. So I have this rifle versus shotgun analogy. And personally, my take is more of the rifle, on the rifle side. So you aim and go after something, and then you kind of focus on it, because it is really important to focus strengths. My personal experience, have wantingly, unwantingly done both. But when we have been more focused, we have really seen results. So having said that, I think in today's context, there may be a way by which you could look at certain markets. So Japan, for example, is a high physical connect kind of market, so you can't do much there. You have to be present in person. But the US market, for example, might be open to more digital connect, right? And there could be a AI-based kind of approach where you are connecting to a much wider audience much faster, and then taking some call based on persona and things like that. So you could try a few things without putting too much of your time and focus in it. That's the only way I see that we can get into something else quickly. But otherwise, staying focused and taking a decision in a more, when you're ready for it, when you have the bandwidth, then try is what I would say. But in today's kind of AI-based sales, I think there are a few more options. And that's my take. Ramesh.
Okay, I agree. I mean, slightly different. I mean, in the sense that there's so much of AI happening, and I think so much of virtual thing happening. But I think the fundamental thing is still the human connect. Business happens only on personal connect. Period. Okay. I may be proved wrong 5 years down the line, or maybe, I don't know, today is so fast, maybe next week, right? When an AI agent will completely close a sale. But the point is this, that it's important to have the uh, in-person connect with your customers, prospects. It's very, very important. And especially when you are looking at expanding into a different market. Like for example, Gautam said, Japan, where it takes longer time, gestation time to build relationship, the kind of investment. And Gautam, I think last week you were in Japan, so you may have to frequently travel to make all this. So when you expand, it comes with the kind of investments that will be needed, number one. Number two is that how you want to set up. Maybe can I dwell into that, how you want to get into that, Mike? For example, how you want to set up that your company there, right? You may have to register a company there. And when you register a company, just not start and end there. You need to service that. At least 2 geographies we opened and shut. 2 geographies open and shut in last 10 years. Did not make any sense. Okay, we spend a lot of time traveling, understanding the market. Each market is different. The way they talk, the way they behave, the way they give business, the way they explain things, the way they talk about their priorities and things like that is different. So always it is good to look at, before you expanding into a additional market, I think it's important to look at your current market and try to expand. I think we may have to look at if your current market is outside India, like most of us, right? So how do you expand the business in the existing market? I think that is something which we may want to look at, right? I think you will know this EN and NN, right? EN is your existing account, new business. NN is new business, new account, right? So NN is basically your hunting, pure hunting. EN is your farming, okay? So when you are working for a geography like, for example, US, UK, Australia, Japan, right? Mostly it is good to have your EN thing established. Not, I'm saying in person. If you want to say, can I land up in that country? You can land up in that country, sign up and still do everything virtually here. At Indium, I think until last 5-6 years, not a single salesperson in US. That's our 90% of our revenue coming from. Not a single person. Okay, we build our EN team, that is our farming team, only 5-6 years back. Now it has grown to some sizable, because we saw that is how we can, because otherwise we were traveling crazy. I used to travel crazy. Okay, it requires that kind of a connection, in-person meetings and things like that. But NN, which is your hunting. Okay, hunting is something which we do even today, most of it from offshore. Okay, we don't have teams locally there. We have 1 or 2 teams. We have experimented with leaders and things like that. But basically, like, you need to hunt. Okay, and hunting, it makes more sense because it requires a lot of time and energy, you need to have your inside sales team and things like that, the entire organization, back-end systems and things like that, which we are good at it also. As far as India is concerned, right, we do that. So I believe that it's important that expanding one step at a time. If you have an anchor customer, if you want to land there locally, have that person, a EN person. EN person means he will not be a salesperson, right? It's basically expanding your account. So you'll have an account manager or partner manager and things like that. Have that person. The pure salesperson, you may still want to do it remote.
Thanks, Ramesh. We've run out of time, but I'm going to try and sort of summarize everything in a minute. I think some excellent points. So when you're thinking of going outside, keep in mind that setting up outside is probably the easiest thing. You can just sit on your computer and get a Delaware incorporation done for US within maybe spend $500. But what you need to keep in mind, you need to file returns every year. There are several other legal hassles that you get into. So be very crystal clear. Why do you want to be there? What is the framework that you would want to use? Is it better that you just have a channel partner or you've got a partner that works for you? So be very clear. Again, even before that comes, what is the right market for you? We spoke about Japan, which is a difficult market, US relatively easy. But one market which I've been personally very, very bullish, and where we're sitting in Kerala, so we need to talk about Middle East, right? It's one market where I've been extremely bullish for the last 5 years. Again, a highly underpenetrated market from the Indian tech point of view, but where you have phenomenal success rate. You can board a flight from anywhere in India. Like I jokingly say, for me, I find it more convenient to get a flight from Delhi to Dubai than coming from Delhi to Bangalore, right? Because my flying time from Delhi to Bangalore plus the time I'll take to meet any company, completely disproportionate to what I can do in Dubai. The other benefit you have is the low cost. You have a huge diaspora. You have that connect there. Build on those things so your cost comes down. So be more strategic in terms of the markets that you would want to focus on. At times, there are countries which are great in terms of marketing. So don't get swayed by that. We are more than happy at nasscom to work as your consulting partners, be with you every step of the way. Feel free in reaching out to us wherever we can help it. I mean, people like Gautam and Ramesh, you can always reach out to them in terms of, because I'm sure they've had enough pitfalls in their growth journey. So how do you reach out to them? There's some wisdom of nuggets that you can pick up from everywhere. So maybe latch on to that and then reach out to us. But thank you both for the phenomenal session. I know the time is short.
We don't have a question for.
But we don't have time for that. But thanks everyone. Thank you.